I met Tom Malone a good few years ago at a point down in Brattondown. He was doing the commentary, and that's how I met him. And then just through the racehorses and sales, we kind of knew each other, kept in touch. And a couple of years ago, we were in Newmarket, everyone was out for dinner, and I said to him, what about the horse? And he said, oh, well, he said, the horse is going great. I've got, there's 2 girls there riding him away, Jazz and Emma, and they're producing him and they're doing a great job. And he's won like so much stuff in England with those 2 girls. They did an amazing job. And I said, any chance to Dublin? And he said, oh, well, Jazz wants to bring him to Horse of the Year show. She won in Hickstead. She had him qualified. So I said, okay, fair enough. So anyway, then later on, I rang him. It was late spring this year, and I said, well, what about the horse? And he says, do you know what? I promised you can have him. So he said, we'll make a plan. So that was fine. We made a plan, and Native came over a few weeks ago on the lorry with an extensive wardrobe. And sure, he's an absolutely fabulous horse. For the age of him, he just looks $1 million. His owners, Gareth and Anne Bloom, absolutely adore him. They sort of gifted him to Tom to live out his days with Tom. And he's just been such a fun horse for so many people, not just for Emma and Jazz and Tom, but, he brought a girl to her Debs. She wore a big dress and rode him down the village to the Debs, and he's just a good fun horse. Since I've had him here, I've brought him off to the beach. We've been playing around with him here, and he's a lovely horse. And for something that ran so often and was so successful, he won over £1 million in prize money. He was rated 176 back in the day. He won so many graded races. He had 3 Denman chases, Hennessy Gold Cup, Welsh Grand National, 3rd in the Gold Cup, won a Gold Cup. That's, to get a horse to stay sound, to do all those things, and then continue to be a sound horse in retirement is quite incredible. And it's, fair play to his owner, for his longevity and looking after him. And also you have to give a shout out to his breeder, who was up the north. He bred a very good horse, from a small amount of mares. So yeah, it was a big achievement for everyone. I always loved racehorses, and when I finished my leaving cert, I remember I did my last exam on the Friday, and actually on the Monday morning I started working in Wood Park Stud up near Ferryhouse. I knew 3rd level education was most definitely not for me. 1st and 2nd level education wasn't for me either, but anyway, we weren't going to extend it much longer. So I got a job, and I just loved pedigrees. I just loved the kind of the stud aspect to it as well. So I worked in Wood Park for 1.5 years, and then I went down to the Irish National Stud. I did the National Stud course there, and as soon as that was over, I got myself a job in England doing yearling prep. And so I did that for Fiona Marna, Kingwood Stud. Then I went to Highclere Castle, ran a yearling yard there. And then the racing kind of was getting more under my skin, so I was, kind of keen to get involved in a racing yard. So I went as pupil assistant to Barry Hills. I did that for 3.5 seasons, and just learned so much there. And you were working with incredible horses, Group 1 horses. You walk into a barn and there was just a heap of Group 1 horses. There was no room for a bad horse in that yard. So stayed with him for a while. Then I decided I wanted to maybe race ride a little bit. So I found myself a sort of a clapped out old handicapper, and went pointing with her. I hadn't got a clue what I was doing, and she basically just ran off with me. We managed to win 3 points. Yeah, they went by very quickly as I was getting run away with around all these courses. But she was super, and then I just loved it. I got the taste for it, and then I started riding for other people. I was very lucky then to get the leg up on some lovely horses. Robert and Sally Allner gave me the leg up on Master Medic, who was an incredible horse. He was, he ran in a King George back in the day. So, I won 8 or 9 points on him, and a couple under rules. But I mean, he was an airplane. You just kind of had to hold on to the neck strap. But it was just so much fun, and I loved it. But then, it was time to, come home and grow up, I suppose. Stop having so much fun and, maybe be an adult. I was very lucky to come back to the farm. We have a beautiful farm here in County Meath, and I decided I was going to start pinhooking a few national hunt and flat foals. So I trundle off to the sales there in November and try and pick up a few, and I do that, and then I do a good bit of breaking and a bit of pre-training for people. So it's quite diverse, the farm. There'll always be a half-bred knocking around somewhere just because of, I suppose, the family history. But thoroughbreds are kind of my gig. I love them, and I love producing them, whether they go on to be racehorses or go on to do something else. I've evented a few and got them going, and then they're so easy to train, and they will just they'll turn their hand to anything, and I think there's a huge market for them as well. And it's nice because not every thoroughbred is going to be a racehorse, but they are well able to jump. You see them going all the way to the top in many disciplines. River is an incredible horse. He has the most amazing disposition. He's so quiet. He's such a gentleman, but he has his odd quirks. He will not be caught in the field. He's an absolute demon for it. But at the same time, you could put a child up on his back and send them off for a hack and know that everyone's going to come back in one piece. He's a credit to everyone who's kind of produced him all the way up, from Colin Tizard's right up to Tom's now. They've looked after him and, enjoyed him as well.